Don Baham, a community access television producer and the host of an ongoing weekly cable television series, Conversations with Dr. Don. I'm also a retired clinical psychologist and a certified Creole, born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. The program you're about to watch, one of a series of 16 or so individual broadcasts, came about because I wanted to record and share with you highlights of the 2007 Creole Heritage Celebration in the beautiful and historic city of Natchitoches in northwest Louisiana. I wanted to do this because I'd heard good things about this organization of Creoles from a number of sources. An organization that tracks the Creole diaspora? When I grew up in New Orleans in the 30s and 40s, I knew of no formal organization of Creoles like the Creole Heritage Foundation of today. I only knew of the local, more or less, neighborhood social organizations like the Autocrat Club in New Orleans. Well, like so many young Creoles in the 40s, returning from military service to other parts of the country, I lost touch to a large degree with the New Orleans Creole-style community. Now, the city of Los Angeles Creole community in the 50s through the 70s provided a modicum of Creole community, but nothing like the Creole community in New Orleans in the 30s and 40s. And then moving out of Los Angeles proper into the larger Los Angeles area suburban community further isolated me from my cultural upbringing, not to mention moving to Oregon 13 years ago. Ever find yourself in a place where you see someone that has a look or a flavor about them that suggests that they might be a Creole or whatever, only to discover that it is more how they look physically that caused your misperception? Now, of course, I love where I live now in the rainy Pacific Northwest, but if there are any Creoles up here, I haven't seen any. So that's why I decided that I had to come to the celebration. And I'm so very glad I did. I can't put into words the feelings of joy and connection that I felt at the celebration and am still feeling today. That feeling of joy and connection was certainly encouraged and facilitated by the warm and gracious welcome and ongoing support and assistance of Mrs. Janet Rabare Colson, the Executive Director of the NSU Creole Heritage Center, and her eager, dedicated staff. I can't thank Mrs. Colson and her staff enough. I believe that the flavor and essence of what it's like to be Creole comes through in the speeches and presentations that you will see and hear in the series of broadcasts that comprise the complete program. I believe that whether or not you're a Creole, you're bound to learn more about us, our heritage, and our love of life. I hope that after viewing any or all of this series of programs, you viewers might become encouraged to find more of the fun and love of life in your own particular culture. So, enough of my talk, and on with the program.
As you can see, the 9 o'clock session this morning is about Bayou Talk and Creole Heritage Day with Mr. Louis Matoyer. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Mr. Matoyer. I had to edge him to get this out of him, but I said, you know, we need to know who you are and about you. So Mr. Louis Matoyer was born in 1949 right here in Natchitoches, Louisiana. As a young child, he and his family relocated to Los Angeles, California. He did attend St. Anthony's Catholic Church before they relocated to California. He has earned a BS in Business Administration. He has recently received his religious credentials from the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. He also is a religion teacher at the Cantwell Sacred Heart of Mary High School in Montebello, California, and he is also a campus minister. But his main claim to fame is that he is the executive director and his family founded what is known as the Bayou Talk newspaper, which happened to be celebrating its 20th anniversary in this month of October. So in 1987, the Matoyer family decided that they should get together and put together a newspaper that would keep us informed about our Creole heritage and just everything that goes on. He'll be speaking to us today about the Bayou Talk, its beginnings and its roles in developing this Creole Heritage Day, what was started as a day, which has now evolved into a celebration. So at this time, I would give you Mr. Louis Matoyer.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. As noted, I'm a campus minister, and I think I'd like to start this like I start all my classes, you know, with my students, okay? We always start in a Catholic school when we start a presentation or stuff, we start with a prayer. So in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, I want to thank you today for this day. What a beautiful day you have given us. Let us also thank our Lord for all the wonderful people who have worked so hard at putting this together, this day, this week, and events together. For they have truly given their gifts, which have come from the Holy Spirit, to us. Let us all, as a community together, say a Hail Mary together. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. I couldn't get past that with the nuns sitting in the audience, okay? It's so nice to see you here. Okay. I would like to start this morning. Let me bring to your attention there was a handout that I hope you all have this morning. It's stapled together, and the top of it says Bayou Talk Newspaper, a Creole Awareness Campaign. I'm going to kind of follow this handout, so it may be good for you to have it right at the front, right on top, okay? And before I start within that handout, I'm going to read something to you. I see a couple people running back to get a handout, so we'll let them get theirs, okay? Okay. There we go. Okay. It has been my quest that we never be forgotten again. I said this in the film, The Spirit of a Culture, Cane River Creoles. I remember when I was asked the question, what drives me to do the things that I do for the cultural heritage and its people, by Miss Bill Rodman during the production of the film. Up until that time, no one had ever asked me why I do the things that I do and why I'm so passionate about telling our Creole story. And I had to stop, I personally hadn't stopped long enough to ask myself even that question. But as I look back at the events I've been involved in over the years, I can see that there was a force driving me forward. It was this cry from my people. Over and over, I could hear this echoing from my people, wanting to be known as who they are and take their place among their proud Creole ancestors. Early on with Bayou Talk newspaper, we could tell that a void was filled, a thirst among our people to communicate and to resonate over the past or our future. The Bayou Talk newspaper assisted us in developing a strategy that led to many open doors and created a platform for the awareness of the Creole cultural heritage. The Bayou Talk captured a flavor of the culture that people could relate to and understand. In October of 1987, the Bayou Talk released its first publication. Little did we know at that time that it would start a quest never to be forgotten again. This quest developed into an awareness campaign that would take us well into the next decade of a chain of events that brought about Creole awareness around the world. The actual very conception and beginning of Bayou Talk newspaper took place right here in Natchitoches in 1933, and that's with Grandpa Rock Conant. That's my grandfather on my mother's side. He worked for the Natchitoches Times newspaper here, and that kind of was the beginning of newspaper in our family background. Grandpa Rock and his 5 sons worked for the Natchitoches Times. And I remember Mother telling us about Grandpa Rock and how he would come from work, you know, with ink all over his hands, but she also talked about his passion for his work, how much he enjoyed working for the Natchitoches Times and how important that job was to him. And in that process of talking around the kitchen table 20 years ago is how we decided that, okay, there are people, you know, in California, there are people in Louisiana, and they want to know what's going on. So we kind of searched the marketplace and found out and discovered that there was a lot of restaurants out in California that could possibly advertise, you know, and help fund what we were trying to do. And that's kind of the conception. When we went out and talked to those restaurants, we didn't ask them for 1 ad or 2 ads. We asked them to stay with us for 6 months to a year. We wanted to know that if we put our foot out there, that we would be able to deliver a product. Little did we know that not only did they stay with us for 1 year, there are some that have been with us for 20 years. And it's been quite a success in its own right. But again, it laid a platform for us that we were the kind of resource that people wanted to know about our cultural heritage. And they start coming to us to try to find out these answers, you know, that they had no idea that, one, that we exist, or little idea that we exist, but they wanted to know more. There was always a thirst for wanting to know more about the Creole cultural heritage. And that kind of takes us up to that outline on that paper that I was telling you about. After our first publication, people started coming to us, and then just about a year later, in February of 1988, the city of Los Angeles decided to put together a cultural festival, okay? And they came to us seeking people in our cultural environment, so that they wanted restaurants, they wanted people who did sewing, they wanted music. You know, they really wanted a flavor for our community. So they came to us, and fortunately we were able to deliver. We were very, much in assistance with the city of Los Angeles at that time. We ourselves were putting together educational types of things. By this time, we were in the Moreno Valley area, and one of the things that we did in the Moreno Valley area, we developed a Cajun and Creole heritage program that we called Then and Now, kind of talking about how things were in the past and where people are today. And we put that exhibit on at the library. And it was quite successful, but more than anything, it was a stepping stone for education. And that's what we saw early on, that people really needed to be educated into this culture, because this culture is so rich, so deep, and so wide, and there's so many aspects to it, and then that also led to the confusion of Cajun and Creoles and Louisiana people. So we knew we had quite a task upon us, and we were going to be that resource at that given time to try to explain that. So that's why we started early on developing educational programs as much as we could. In October of '88, we put together our first anniversary edition. And we focused on the social groups. And the reason we focused on the social groups, one, is because people wasn't aware that they had that many social groups out in the Los Angeles area. There was about 15 social groups out there, and there were various names that they had developed, but they gave gatherings of all sorts, from anything from a backyard picnic to a social ball. And this was all part of our culture, being alive, out there. But yet there wasn't a resource for them to really let other people know. So that's why Bayou Talk and the community kind of married on together, and we really focused on those social groups for that first anniversary edition, and because that was a building block. That was a building block not only Bayou Talk needed, but the community needed. They needed to be aware of one another and how they were all moving in the same direction for educating our people and people about wanting to know, And in January of 1989, I wrote my first letter to the United States Postal Service in hoping that they would develop a stamp for the Creole people. Now, it wasn't until years later that I received a note from them, a letter or reply back, and I'll get to that in a few minutes, okay? But we developed a Mardi Gras ball. We got recognition from the mayor of New Orleans. KCET, which is a Channel 28 out in the Los Angeles area, again came to us looking for, they wanted to put together some type of information on the Creole people. So here we were, again, a resource for them. But also, we saw very, very early on that this was our mission. This had becoming to develop to be our mission, is to tell our story, allow our people to tell their story, and so that we could, so that the whole community could get a flavor for who we are. The Socialites was one of the groups out in California, and they gave a festival in the summer of 1989. Well, prior to that festival, it was like a backyard kind of picnic, okay? And then they came to us, and we focused on their group, and we kind of told their story for them. And lo and behold, 2 years later, that festival was busting at the seam. They had well over 5,000 people who had attended, and these are 5,000 Creoles that had attended this festival. So again, there was a constant thirst for knowledge out there, a constant thirst for us being together, was really evident. In 1990, we put together another kind of event that we called, Cajun and Creole Heritage Program Then and Now at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza. That's one of the malls that they had developed in the Crenshaw area of Los Angeles. Well, Crenshaw and the Jefferson Boulevard was basically the central hub of the Creoles in the Los Angeles area. So we went to this mall and we said, well, we have, we want to put together some type of celebration, in honor of our Creole culture. And so they said, okay, they took a chance with us. That was the most attended event that mall had ever seen. We couldn't even count the number of people that could come. The stores and everything in that mall could not believe that they had so many of us in one location. We knew it, but trying to tell other people that when you go in with an idea, and you come out with such a, rewarding thing, it's fabulous. It really is. And it was very much instrumental. It was like a charge in our community, like that shot in the arm that really gives you the adrenaline rush that you need. But it was beautiful. It was, again, one of the most beautiful and most rewarding events that we could ever do. But here again, these events that we're putting together, we still did not know that this was developing into something bigger and later, on for our people. We just knew that there was a thirst there, and it was something that we really wanted to do. Bayou Talk also supported in 1990 the U.S. Census campaign in trying to get a category for specifically titled for Creoles. Now the outcome of that was not as positive as we wanted. From what we understand now, they have the title multiracial. Well, that's another whole element, that's not what we were about, But however, when you deal with politics, we learned early on, that's another whole element, that's another whole avenue, and the thinking process of the political world is totally different from the average ordinary citizen. We learned that early on. So, but by 1990, Bayou Talk was now in 25 states. We knew we had readership in 25 states because we mailed it out, and that was one of the ways that we could tell, where our people were. But yet again, we looked at, we need some catalyst, something that we can do annually. And so that took us up to 1991. And I sent out a letter to, my first letter written to honor Nicholas Augustine's birthday in January 22nd as Creole Heritage Day. We knew that the first recognition was the most important recognition, and that was here in the state of Louisiana. So we needed Governor Buddy Romo to really recognize January 22nd as Creole Heritage Day in honor of the birth of Nicholas Augustine. So when I wrote that letter, I wrote it to him. I also wrote one to Governor Pete Wilson and the governor of Illinois. And they were, Governor Buddy Romo was very, very receptive. We got a confirmation from him that he would be more than happy that this had never been done before. We didn't know that it was never done before. We just thought that, look, we need our people to know that Nicholas Augustine is really someone that really need to be out there, that we can look at, our young people can look at and model after. And so that's why we put forward, and we know also in the community that people will really idolize Nicholas Augustine. So that was one of the stepping stones that we had to, in order to go farther in this overall campaign of awareness, we had to get Nicholas Augustine recognized. And so that happened, and it did. And in that same process, we had to also, try to explain to people who is a Creole, because that's what people keep asking. Who is a Creole? So we wrote the historical article, Creoles, a Hidden Culture, a Clarification. That is one of the most sought after articles that we have written in Bayou Talk. Now, there are some things that I've learned over the years since 1991 that I've probably changed within that article or bring more up to date in terms of the clarification that we have now know that we did not know then. But again, it set the tone to try to help educate. That was the purpose of that article, and it achieved that purpose. There was also festivals beginning to, form. Sister Joan Vieira Williams asked me to come and speak to a Las Vegas reunion in 1991. We also, again, had received the proclamation by that time, or knew that it was going to be coming. And it began to start developing that one event now was a platform to go to the next level, so to speak. So our first publication in January 1992 really honored Nicholas Augustine's birthday as Creole Heritage Day. They had Creole Heritage exhibits in the West Covina Library out in California. Bayou Talk had a Mardi Gras ball. Bayou Talk had become being noted in other publications. This all led to other doors that would open for us. We were written up in the Los Angeles Times, the National Catholic Registry, Creole Magazine in Lafayette, San Gabriel Valley Tribune, and out in California, the Butterfield Express in Moreno Valley. This all, again, like I said, just kept opening doors, for people wanting to know about our cultural heritage. And in December of 1992, the U.S. Postal Service finally sent me some kind of notification, on honoring our Creole people with the stamp. And what they did, they sent us a letter of consideration. Now, as I understand it at this point in time, they have totally changed that process. They don't focus so much on individuals now as they focus on states, and they focus on some cultural heritages and so forth and so on. So, I'm still working with that. It looks like it's something that's going to take a long time, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going, and thankfully with the center and their help, who knows, it may happen for us, but at least they're listening to us. This is much more than what we've had before, But also in 1992, I looked at, okay, what are they doing in Louisiana? We're doing these things out in California, but we must do something in our homeland. This is where it started from, So I again took the pen and pencil, and I wrote a letter to the Most Reverend Bishop Samuel Jacobs, at that time the Bishop of the Diocese of Los Angeles. I didn't know where it was going to go with this, okay? And I understand through his clergy letter he sent out to all the churches in his diocese, asking them, wherever there are descendants of Nicholas Augustine and the Creole people, to do some type of celebration on that day. And Terrell Delphin at that time is the president of the St. Augustine Historical Society, and the men and women from the St. Augustine Historical Society really came forward and developed a mass and a celebration at the church hall, and really put forth a tremendous effort on bringing the awareness of Nicholas Augustine's birthday. One of the elements we looked at, with that is that, okay, January is a hard month in Louisiana. You could go from a beautiful sunshiny day to sleet and snow. And so we didn't know how well it would be received. We had no idea it was going to develop where it did, but at least we were putting forth an effort in trying. And that was the most important thing. The other element, and the reason we wrote to the bishop, or at least I wrote to the bishop, is because of Catholicism. Catholic is a part of who we are as a person. It is the core of our individuality. And that had to come across. And so that was one of the most important reasons as to why I wrote to the bishop. Because our people are so centered and rooted into the Catholic Church. And I knew if there was any way possible that we could reach our people, it would be through the church. And hopefully received in such a positive way. And that was really the driving force at writing the bishop, to get some type of something going here in our homeland. I also looked at, in 1994, Claude Thomas Perry Matoir, Nicholas Augustine's father. Okay, here was another element that was kind of not necessarily overlooked, but it existed, but we didn't really focus on. In 1994-95 was the 250th anniversary of the beginning of Nicholas Augustine coming to the Natchitoches Post area. And that migration, see, focusing on Nicholas Augustine is our French lineature. That was important. France is very, very important to our cultural heritage. It's a major part of our cultural heritage. And as we trace our roots, Claude Thomas Perry Matoir is the French lineature. And so we needed to put him forward and put that out there for our community. And so as his birthday, anniversary of him, his birthday, 1744 to 1994, 1994, was the 250th anniversary of his beginning. Okay. By this time in January, a mass reception, a taste of Creoles at St. Augustine Parish was beginning to, take place. So things were beginning to shape up, and more, information was coming to us. We were, facilitating other information. I think by this time, the letter to Terrell Delphin had received in reference to the park. All of this had started, the center, I think the conception of the center and stuff, all of this was beginning to be taught and starting setting its place into motion. I looked at 1995, January 22nd, 1995, and I noted that was on a Sunday. And I said, we must, okay, here again is our Catholic faith. We must put this forward. So we must do something, and first we should call it Creole Sunday. And that was the lead for the campaign of Creole Sunday. I had discovered that 9 of the 12 black bishops in America were from Louisiana. And again, I sat down and I wrote a letter to those 9 bishops and asked them to focus on Creole Sunday as some part to really talk about their roots in Louisiana and their homeland in Louisiana. And again, it was very, very well received. We shortly on got letters of recognition, acknowledgement that they were going to really talk about that. They were not only going to talk about it themselves, but they were going to share it with their entire diocese. That it was beginning to, the word is beginning to, filter, in terms of focusing on Creole Sunday. So it was another way to, and another avenue that we could really, try to work with, and it was successful. It really went over very well. There was another significant aspect that year too. I think this was the second or third year that that St. Augustine was celebrating January 22nd. So I wrote a letter to the United States Post Office about doing what they call a cancellation. That's kind of I don't know if you're familiar with cancellations, but usually when you honor a particular group or organization, and if it's a significant year like it was for Claude Thomas Perry migration, 250th anniversary, they do a special rubber stamp, and if you come to the post office on that post office at that location that day, they will stamp your letters with that special cachet, is what they call it. And I have a friend that does stamp collecting, and he's the one that kind of led me on to this little idea, okay? And so I got in touch with the post office, and I said, we have a little post office in Melrose. And I said, not only do we have the little post office in Melrose, but I also want to be able to do this in the Crenshaw district in Los Angeles. How can we go about doing this? And then they began to work with me. And sure enough, it all developed to where on January 22nd, or a day or two before, the design was made and the cachet, took place. We announced it almost a year in advance that this was going to take place. And I understand through Tell and some of the others, there were literally hundreds and thousands of requests, letters coming in to that little post office in Melrose who wanted to get their stamp on that letter. That was a tremendous hot collector's item at that particular year. But more than anything, it gave our people another avenue of recognition. That was important to me, that people knew about that migration, that Claude Thomas Perry came from France to Louisiana up to the Natchitoches Post. That was just another little avenue. And of course, this went out on the wire service and all over there, the United States Postal publications and stuff. And it just went into hands we could never reach, no other way. And so it was one of the most successful events that we did. But again, leading to educating. That's the driving force. We're leading to education. And campaign, the Creole Sunday in 1995 was just a tremendous success. And as you know, too, we received acknowledgement from President Clinton at that time, wishing us well in our community, on such a success as a cultural people. And that kind of brings us at this particular time as to now the center is the central hub of what we do and what we're about, see? So we kind of tailored off after 1996, and we kind of let the center, which is what it should be, the educational hub about who we are and what we're all about. And that kind of is why that ended in 1996. Bayou Talk didn't end, okay? Bayou Talk just kind of shifted itself in supporting the center and any other way that we can help, in any possible way that we can help to educate our young people on our cultural heritage. I guess I've talked enough right there. Okay. But what I want to do, I want to get questions from you. And if there's something on there you want to ask, I really want to leave a good chunk of time for you guys, to see. So anyone have any questions? I'd like to just kind of raise your hand or stand up and yell, and I'll try to answer. Yeah. Yeah, Janet was saying that the center for the past 10 years, for the first 10 years, has used Bayou Talk as a resource. And one of the things we did early on, I think we had from day one edition, from October 87, we only had like 10 of the full sets, what we call a full set of Bayou Talks from day one till today. We only had about 10 of those really existed. So a few years ago, we gave the center a set, so that we also gave the center, the first 10 years have been placed on microfilm. So it is housed in the center for research, so that people can come and look and research, and people have. You'll note some of the speakers today and some of the other have noted quotes and things from Bayou Talk, and this is where they basically have received. They go to the center now and get their resource for it, and which is what its purpose for. Yeah. Any question? Yeah. Okay, no, Creole Sunday itself is not really that was a campaign for 1995 because January 22nd landed on a Sunday, I think. But we certainly have encouraged anyone to do, what they can. Yeah, sister. Oh, he has the microphone.
Thank you. How do you acquire the Bayou Talk? Do you send this individually or do you send it to a parish?
Okay, first off, it's on the mailing list. You can certainly subscribe. And if you pick up one today, in the back they have a subscription form. We also have a website that you can go to, which is very easy, www.bayoutalk.com. And then you'll see my name, and you can click on that, and it'll take you to, you just send me your address, and I'll send you out one and type you a little note with it and stuff and get it to you. Okay? Yeah, other question, yeah.
Do you have some idea of what the big draw to the Los Angeles area was for the Creole people?
Oh, yeah, very definitely. The big draw was because of educational opportunities. No, without a doubt. When there were two basic migrations, and you're going to hear about this in the next presentation. I don't want to ruin her presentation. Is it your? Yeah, I don't want to ruin her presentation. So you come to the next presentation, you're going to hear about the migration. Okay, okay. But there were two. Yeah. Another question? Hold on. See, good. See mine. Okay.
Do you ever publish any articles, poetry, or folk tales in Creole language, or
okay,
is it English
you
only?
need to speak up. Okay.
Oh, do you ever publish any articles, poetry, or folk tales in the Creole language, or is your newspaper English only?
Okay, it's basically the newspaper only, but what we do is we support anyone that's writing books on Creoles, any poetry or anything like that they want to submit to us. They're very welcome to. I am in the process of writing a book, and I've been in the process, just all these other projects come in the way, but I am in the process of writing, and it's a combination of a poetry book and some of these articles that I've written in reference to our cultural heritage. And one of these days I'm gonna get it published, okay, get it finished and then get it published. But we do very definitely, we try to be like the center, equal with the center in terms of trying to be a resource for you or for someone who would like to know, about the culture. Okay. Any other question? How are we on time? We're close. Okay. Yeah, we're close. Yeah. Yes, we do accept articles. That was the question. Do we accept articles? Yes, we do accept articles. The way we like to receive the article is if you could email it to us. We got a little more technical now with things, and it's so much easier to import email right into the grid because everything's done on computers now. I mean, it's not like it was when we first started out. It was cut and paste. It really was cut and paste. Okay. And now, the computer age has really, been good to us. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Sunday was designated as Creole Sunday in the year?
Yeah. What we did, we looked at in 1995, actually in 1994, we looked at January 22nd, 1995, and that was landed on a Sunday. So we developed this campaign theme called Creole Sunday, and I wrote to the bishops asking them to really talk about their Louisiana roots on that particular Sunday at their Sunday service. And again, it really was received very well. We don't per se, quote unquote, have a Creole Sunday every year. No, that was just a campaign theme. See, actually, to be honest with you, as I put this together this past June, I think it was, I started putting this list together for today. And that's when I realized all of this all had really taken place. So I've been so busy with just, work and putting out a paper and so forth and so on. We really do need to stop and look sometimes, at what we've accomplished. And it's quite gratifying. It really is. Yeah. Good. Any other questions? Okay. I'm going to be around for the weekend. So if you see me out in the other areas, I encourage you really strongly to tell your story. Really, really sit down and tell your story. It is so very important to our cultural heritage that each and every one of us, we do have a story to tell, and you should believe that. And tell your story. Okay? Thank you very much.